You're watching Impact. Now, millions of Muslims around the world have begun fasting as the holy month of Ramadan begins. The requirement is not to eat or drink during the hours of daylight. Very difficult. Well, it's difficult anyway, but it's particularly difficult if you happen to be in a country where the daylight hours are particularly long, as they are at the moment during the summer in Europe. Let's join Tomchak, who's been gathering views in the world's newsroom. And of course, different Muslim countries will be observing in slightly different ways, Anne-Marie.
That's right, Michelle. Well, as you said, it is a time of commitment and sacrifice when people are fasting in different parts of the world. But obviously, for some people, it is even more difficult because of weather conditions, or also because they're going through periods of political unrest or war even. So we were discussing this in the World's Newsroom today, and we've got some guests here who can reflect a little bit more about it. Amber and Irum from the BBC Urdu service, and Reda, who is a journalist who's originally from Egypt. Irum, you're fasting today. This is your first day of fasting. How's it going for you?
So far, very good, because I'm busy and the time is flying. Otherwise, when I'm not doing anything, it becomes really boring, and the day becomes very long. So I'm enjoying so far, and I feel very light, actually, because I'm not grazing today, not having any coffee, tea, and I have more work. More time to do more work.
Amber, you have lots of family and friends also fasting, but you're not fasting yourself. What prompted that decision?
Well, I do find it harder. It's my first time fasting here during Ramadan. So I find the long hours are very difficult, and then we have a show in the evenings, which is the reason I'm not fasting.
So it's easier to do it if you are in Pakistan, that element of solidarity with everyone else taking part.
It is much easier because there's this whole atmosphere, the whole family gets up in the morning at sunrise, everybody prepares the meal for the iftari when you break the fast. So the atmosphere does make it easier to fast.
Well, we've had lots of comments from people on Facebook, and actually a lot of people have been taking a very positive attitude and a can-do attitude about it. Sahar Andromeda from Tunisia wrote to us, and he says, eating before dawn helps us adapt. During the day we spend time at work and take short naps. Another comment from Eman Mustafa Badir from Egypt says, exercising while fasting is one of the major activities in Egypt. And finally, Ahmed Snowden from Libya wrote to us saying, although we fast for 16 hours a day, it's easy to do. You just have to get through a little bit of tiredness in the first 2 days, which is interesting. However, they're very positive comments. However, there are lots of other challenges for people, particularly living in Syria, where they're undergoing major conflict, and also in Egypt, where you're from, where there's a lot of protests taking place. How do you think it's going to change in Ramadan?
Yeah, very true. In Egypt, normally Ramadan is a festive season where people gather and socialize all night and eat street food before dawn. But this year, because of the political uncertainty, people don't know what to expect. They say maybe this Ramadan is going to be very different than the one that we are used to. And they started even 2 weeks before now stocking up on food and especially water, because they are afraid of water cuts. But some still want to maintain the spirit of Ramadan. They still want to say, stay in the streets and
Reda,
don't be afraid.
I will have to stop you there, but thank you so much. We'll have to see how those protests play out and whether they intensify during night time. That's all from us from the World's Newsroom.
Anne-Marie, thanks very much indeed. And if you're observing Ramadan, may it be a peaceful month at least right across the Muslim world. Stay with us. Impact's back in a moment.